This is an issue that I have with the Isu in this game, and it's the fact that, so when Isu were created, right, as the first civilization, the ones who came before this precursor race, it was an amalgamation of all of the beliefs of humanity across centuries and centuries and centuries of human history.
Yes.
And so, you know, when you look at the Isu, you can see parts of Christianity, parts of Hinduism, Islam, parts of the Roman, Greek pantheon of gods, and it's an amalgamation of that. And so you can see parts in there like, oh, so Adam and Eve stole the apple of forbidden knowledge from Minerva and Jupiter and Juno, these Roman gods, and they're also known in a different pantheon as like the Greek gods as well. So like that's where that came from, and that's where Christianity came from, and Cain and Abel and all of these things. And there's this connection, and like, oh, Eden exists and everything, and so you've got all these biblical references and everything. Yeah, everything's all one. And so you can see that there was so many human beliefs that were derived from the Isu in different ways. Whereas
but they're
what
all almost like
does,
pieces of the puzzle, aren't they?
What Valhalla does is it goes, well, there were Norse gods that lived in Norway, and there were Greek gods that lived in Greece, and there were Roman gods that lived in Rome. And it's like, what? So what you're saying is the beliefs of humanity are actually way closer to reality than they should be, and I don't like that. I would prefer, Odin shouldn't be called Odin. Loki shouldn't be called Loki. And, you know, it's these things where, like, you've got, like, Minerva says,
I just found it stupid.
They've got different names. Like, Minerva isn't Minerva, and, like, Juno's not Juno. Like, they had different names across time, and, like, it was distorted and perverted by humanity's perception of these godlike beings. And what Valhalla does is almost a direct translation. The only difference there is they use futuristic tech. That's the only difference. And as well, they don't even really look like Isu. It's so weird that the Isu design has changed drastically from the early days of Assassin's Creed to what it is now. And the way that it's presented in Valhalla and the way that you learn about these Isu through the mythical arcs just makes them feel more like magical gods. Whereas everything you learn about them in Assassin's Creed 2 is... like, even you go under the... what's it fucking called? The Vatican. And you know... But it doesn't feel like you're going under the Vatican and, like, you're finding this, like, you know, Christian god or this Roman god or whatever. Like... You go into the Vatican and it feels like a fucking spaceship. Like, it feels sci-fi. Yeah, it feels like you're out of time.
So good.
And I love that about it. And
because
the
Assassin's
way that
Creed was
the architecture of these Isu temples...
Sci-fi and fantasy are so different.
You what?
Sci-fi and fantasy are so different. Like, there's such a difference of what it used to be with science fiction.
Yeah.
Meaning history to fantasy makes it feel ridiculous. It takes that so much of the mystery away to me. It doesn't become mystery. It's like you've pulled the curtain back on who the Isu are, and they're shit. There's no mystery.
And I liked that there was that conflict between the architecture of the historical setting and the Isu feeling futuristic. It was out of place, and like that was so interesting to me. Like when you go through the Vatican and like you're seeing all of like these, you know, Renaissance paintings, and you're seeing like all of this like Christian Roman Catholic like architecture and design, and then you go through this door and like it's just these like stone walls with these symbols on and these big blue lights, and it's like, whoa, this is such a stark contrast. But when you're playing Valhalla, when you're playing these newer games, it's like what they try to do, and I don't like it, is they try to inspire that particular Isu architecture off of the mythological beliefs of the people. So when you go into the Yggdrasil temple, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, like, and it does look cool, but a lot of it is very Norse-based architecture, and that takes me out of it a little bit. Like when you're playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and you do the Fate of Atlantis, it's like the Isu have Greek architecture for some reason, and it's like...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I don't like that about the Isu. I liked that the Isu had this very futuristic, very utopian architecture. Like when you see the truth and you're looking at Eden in Africa, and you've got all of these like futuristic buildings, like these winding towers that are like, you know, bright white, and it's like that doesn't look like Roman architecture. It doesn't look like, you know, Gothic, you know, Christian architecture or whatever. Like that's another thing. Like when you're playing like Syndicate and you go to find the shroud, it's like, why is the architecture of this Isu temple all Gothic and like weird look?
Yeah, it's not like the fucking Isu 70,000 years ago predicted what it was going to look like at the time when people were living there, when the assassins went and got the piece of Eden. It makes
Gothic,
no sense.
Shall we? And then And then
It's
Jacob
weird.
and Evie Fleischer, like, find the piece of Eden. I always explain that one as somebody built the Gothic architecture around it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
it must
yeah.
Be, but...
That was my logic that I assigned to that one. But the point is, there's a design choice that's clearly made to go, right, make this fit with the setting better.
Yeah, I don't like
when
that.
in reality,
Whereas
when
the older
reality,
games
when
didn't
it
care
just fit,
about
that's when you felt engaged and intrigued and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
But it's also
without it becomes
like
a bit
they're
of a
telling
blur.
us that these Isu, like, it's so specific. It's like, but if you like actually know the history of these Norse gods or anything like that, my fucking webcam has just disappeared. Sorry, lads. But if you know the history of the Norse gods, it's just retelling. It's like, oh, that's actually the Isu's history too.
Yeah, and that's what I don't
instead
like.
of it being like this alternate history.
Yeah, it's like the Isu's history used to be based
Like
on...
it's literally Loki.
Yeah, it's
literally Loki. It's fucking
Literally, the
stupid.
gods existed exactly how people imagined them.
Mm-hmm. And that's what people have said. Like, you'll get these comments, right, and people will be like, oh, I don't like that this thing was slightly different from real Norse mythology. And I'm like, it shouldn't even be close. It shouldn't be. You could have... Maybe Odin was an Isu. Maybe there was an Isu called Odin. Maybe that's where that belief comes from. But he should not have done anything that Odin did. He shouldn't look like an Odin. It shouldn't be like that. Like, when you've got
whole
Minerva...
point of Assassin's
Minerva
Creed was to...
nothing like the goddess. Like, Minerva was fucking part of this scientist group called the Capitoline Triad. She was figuring out ways to stop the world. She was reading these calculations. She was...
stop the world.
She was reigning over... all of these humans, like the Isu reigned over these humans, and then like there was two humans, fucking Adam and Eve. They started a fucking rebellion and they stole the apple of forbidden knowledge. Like, there's all of this crossover of different beliefs that, yeah, you can see where like the belief came from, but like it's not a direct retelling of the fucking Bible. You can't read the Bible and understand the story of Assassin's Creed. And I think that's where they missed with the Norse story of the Isu.
But you're agreeing with me though that like that's a miss. But like what I hate about that is like that's what the stories. The ending is these three Isu that are they're just Norse gods that they're now saying Isu, and they reincarnated and fight after you spend 100 hours playing as these characters in this time.
No, I definitely...
And for some reason, two of them don't remember.
And they all just fight at the end. Half of them don't even remember. The other half does, and he's supposed to be the only fucking assassin in the game. But instead of being an assassin and learning his secrets, he's just fucking literally Loki who wants to kill Odin because he killed his wolf. Fuck off.
I still think
do you understand? You guys surely understand how much fucking bullshit this is to me?
I understand.
You understand why I think this is dumb as fuck? I fucking hate it. I
still think Basim in the early game is an assassin, though. Like, he still represents everything we know to be an assassin. I don't think that changed. Just in the later game, he sort of subverts expectations.
What do you mean in the later game? The game's 100 hours long, and he stopped being an assassin after 6 hours. Like, he doesn't do anything.
I guess when he's sort of being all mysterious with Sigurd, it's a little bit
though. He's like...
But that's him being Loki at that point. It's not him being an assassin.
My favourite part about Basim is punching him in the face.
Oh, I never punched Basim.
No,
I punched
Sigurd, yeah. I didn't punch Basim.
I punched Basim, but I did not punch Sigurd.
I've shagged his wife, punched him, and made him look a fool.
His wife punched him.
Oh my god.
Fucked off to Vinland while he was being tortured by Falcon. And then he got high and went to Asgard. Which, as it turns out, is just you getting high and then dreaming and remembering shit with your interpretation filling in the blanks. How the fuck does that work? How the fuck should that work? It should be more complex.
You know what's really weird is after all of the
on every layer, I hated that mythical stuff.
What was
on
that?
Every level. There's not a level I enjoy the mythical arcs. There's not a level I enjoy that ending. There's not a level. There's no part of it I enjoyed. I fucking hate all of it.
This was a clip from our new podcast, the Four Pillars podcast. Go check the link in the description and go and listen to the full episode. We have an in-depth discussion on everything Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This was our spoiler cast. We go over the things that we liked, the things we didn't like, the things we were indifferent on. We have arguments, we have laughs. It's a bloody good time. This is a new channel where we're going to have a ton of different shows, so go and check it out, go and subscribe and support what we put up over there. It's going to be a collaboration between the four of us, and we're really excited to keep things going forward. With that said, I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.